Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm going to take more of your questions in another segment of Ask Judy. I wanted to let you know that I'm about to go on a little vacation with my husband. And so for the next couple of weeks, if I am not right on top of those comments, please forgive me because I am on vacation. So I will try to catch up as much as possible when I can and when I return. But I'm pre-recording a number of segments so that they can still continue to go out on Mondays and Thursdays. But I just will likely not have an opportunity to spend a lot of time answering comments. So just keep that in mind if you're going, where is Judy? Well, Judy is off in Europe. This question is from Dry Cracker, who said, thank you for an outstanding episode. This was really special and eye-opening. All three ladies, he's referring to the segments with the three guardians. They were great and added a wealth of information. I enjoyed listening to their stories of working with the younger cast members. It gave us a different layer of behind the scenes. That was a funny story about Richard driving. Sounds like the ladies got a kick out of working there. 3 questions for you, Judy. Are guardians still used today? Yes, they are, as far as I know, because in California, if there is someone under 18 working, they must have a parent or guardian on set with them. If your parent is not able to go with you, then you would hire someone to serve as a guardian. So definitely still in use today. And I believe the ladies talked about how there were some representatives from, I believe, New York that came out to see how things were done on the set, to see how the children on the Waltons, how we took care of school, what hours we worked, and they asked the guardians a lot of questions. And they said shortly after that, their understanding was a lot of that was implemented for the children working in New York. So it's nice to feel like we might have been somehow instrumental in improving the conditions for other child actors. So your other question was, what was the oddest or most memorable request or thing you received from a fan during your career? I don't know, there's been some really lovely things and there's been some very odd things. So some of the oddest are not things that I can really discuss here, but very, very odd and uncomfortable and sometimes kind of inappropriate. So you can let that take your mind wherever it wants to go. And then what was the best or worst advice given to you during your acting career? I think the best advice was at the time of the homecoming, I had just been cast to do a lead in an independent film. And then I got the role as Mary Ellen in the homecoming. And they conflicted. Of course, I hadn't been working for ages. And all of a sudden I get 2 jobs and they're going to film at the same time. As someone only 13, I was being drawn by characters and where we were going on location and what was cool. And, the homecoming wasn't as cool as maybe the character in the other movie. But my agent advised that I do the homecoming because it was for CBS. And so there was no question in her mind that it was going to get made and it would be well done and it would be seen. Whereas what I did not recognize at that point was that independent films are a bit of a roll of the dice. They may or may not get made. They may lose their financing. It might all fall apart. And even if it does get made, it might never get distributed and nobody might ever really see it. And if they do, it'll be a minimum number of people, perhaps, or it could be a huge hit. And those are things that you roll the dice on and you never know. So the homecoming was more of a safe, dependable choice. And so my parents trusted the agent's advice. And because of that, I did. And so I did the homecoming. And it obviously turned out to be absolutely the best advice. So hands down, that one's easy. In terms of worst, I think it was mostly worrying about after the Waltons and typecasting and all that kind of thing. And, have to change your image and things like that were very confusing to me. Because it had to do with trying to be someone that I wasn't. And so I think that was bad advice to not encourage me to be the best person I can be and do what I do best, as opposed to trying to be something else to fit the whim of the moment. So that would be something I would wholeheartedly pass on to any other young performer. This question is from Wesley McCammon, who said, couple questions. If someone was interested in having an event with some of the cast, would we need to reach out to your individual agents? And what about members of the cast who no longer have agents? So with something like that, I know we've had some different people ask us about that, or why can't we come here or come there? Basically, events that we do are organized by someone who is sort of an event organizer. There's all kinds of pieces involved with organizing something. Setting the venue and all of arranging for the cast to come in and covering costs for airfares and hotels and things like that. And then, of course, if you want an event to be successful, you have to make sure that people are going to attend. So there's whatever promotion needs to be done to make sure people know about it and can attend. What's the event going to involve? What sort of events would we as a cast be willing to attend? So there's a lot of pieces to it. It isn't just a matter of us going, hey, we'd like to go to Denver. No, we don't organize events personally. So if someone's interested, what has been happening is because of requests we've had from people that are saying, hey, I might be interested in having the Waltons come in. Cammie's been spearheading putting together a sort of a document that would be, what does it take to bring in the Waltons, and things that we have learned from over the years of doing events, what's been successful, what hasn't, what sort of things the fans enjoy, and stuff like that. So in terms of how that will then become available for people, I'm not sure yet. But perhaps once it's kind of all sorted out, Cammie might post some information. We might all post information about how you could, get that document to sort of see whether or not you feel that you could coordinate all of those various different factors. So I hope that helps. And as far as agents and stuff, usually, not to say that you can't. Of course, you can contact someone's press agent or their agent if they have one, but I wouldn't worry so much about having to contact those who don't have agents, because we all talk. So if Mary meets somebody who says, hey, I'm interested in you coming in for an event, like the thing that Mary and Cammie and I did in St. Charles, Missouri. Mary had been contacted about doing it. And then she was the one who said, I think it might be fun to have my sisters, since it's a women's working show, maybe the Walton sisters. So then Mary, after she spoke with the event producers who said, oh, we think that's a great idea. Then Mary contacted Cammie and myself and said, hey, this is what's happening, and would you be interested in doing this? So we will talk amongst ourselves if something seems like a viable option. And then each person will evaluate it for themselves as to whether or not it would be of interest to them. Next question. I know in plays, sometimes when an actor misses a line or mark, the others can help and move the story and get everything back on track. Does that ever happen on TV or movie sets? I wonder if it's hard not to jump in and help someone when you see them struggle. On stage, it's absolutely necessary to cover things and to help move things forward and get it back on track, or sort of find a way to let the other actor know what they have to say. And you might phrase it as your own question or something to trigger their memory of their lines and stuff. On TV, on camera, no, they're just going to cut. So, you just kind of give the actor room to maybe see if they remember the line, because they can always edit that long pause out. But after a certain pause, they're going to cut, or the actor's going to say something and they're going to go, that's not going to, that's not what we want. So again, it'll go to a cut. Lastly, in the same thought as above, if things just go completely off track in a stage play, do they ever just stop and say, okay, we are going to go back a scene and start again? I've done concerts before where the director was so unhappy he cut us off and made us start again from the top. No, I would say that's not something that would happen with a stage production. You would find a way to continue on forward and muddle through somehow until you got back on track. And I've seen some things go quite a bit off track, but you figure it out. The only thing I experienced was with actor Larry Linville from MASH. He played Frank Burns on MASH. We did a show together, and it was a comedy. So there's more you can get away with in a comedy. And he sort of thought it was fun to break that fourth wall and let the audience know sometimes when things had gone wrong, because he felt like the audience can enjoy feeling like they saw something that wasn't supposed to happen and that they're kind of in on the joke, which I can see at times, that can be fun. So sometimes, like, he walked in one time and he was supposed to be carrying a pile of logs to put in a fireplace. He dropped them and he was like, that wasn't supposed to happen. So he was just like, hold on. So he picked him up. He went back out the door and he entered again. Well, of course, the audience laughed. And so there were things like that would happen. So sometimes he would just back something up. Or one time we skipped a scene and he didn't realize it at the time. And at intermission, we're like, oh, yeah, that scene got skipped. Well, at the curtain call, then he went, there was a scene you didn't get to see, so we're going to do it now. So he made the rest of us do that scene as part of the curtain call. So I was a little uncertain about it at the time, but I can see how it could be fun and charming for the audience if it's not overdone, because you always want people to feel like you're professionals and they are getting their money's worth. So you don't want it to seem like it's a complete mess and nobody knows what they're doing. But he never made it seem like that. It was because the show worked, and it was just sort of giving them maybe a little extra bonus at times. Thank you for joining me for this segment of Ask Judy. I will be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons, more of your questions, and hopefully more special guests. Thanks for watching.